All right, let's dive into the ancient Book of Jasher for a story you've probably never heard. It's a wilder ride, a tale of prophecy, a paranoid king, and a father's absolutely desperate plan to save his son. This is so much more than a birth announcement. It's the story of a secret that was set to change the world, and it all kicked off with a terrifying message written in the stars. So picture this. You're at a huge party celebrating the birth of your king's top general's new son. But when you step outside for some air, you look up and the stars themselves are basically screaming a message of doom, a prophecy that this newborn baby is going to grow up and destroy everything the king has ever built. Well, that's the chilling conclusion King Nimrod's wise men came to on the very night Abram was born. So, what did they actually see up there? Yeah, this was not some vague horoscope reading. Nope. The heavens put on a show that was so dramatic, so violent, that for the guys watching, the meaning was crystal clear. I mean, we're talking about sheer cosmic violence. A single gigantic star just appears, tears across the entire sky, and literally swallows four other major stars. For the king's conjurers, this wasn't just some interesting astrological event. It was a five-alarm fire. It was a declaration of war written across the cosmos. A new power was here, and it was coming to devour the old one. Okay, so now you're one of the wise men. What do? You are stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know this prophecy is about the son of Terah, one of the king's most important generals. If you tell King Nimrod, he might just kill you for being the bearer of bad news. But if you keep your mouth shut and this thing comes true, that's treason. And that's a one-way ticket to an execution. So after probably the most stressful huddle in history, their decision boils down to one thing: self-preservation. They figure, yeah, the king will be mad now, but he'll be way, way madder later if they say nothing and this prophecy comes true. So they decide to face the music, tell him everything, and just hope they live to see another day. And, well, the king's reaction? It's not great. In fact, it's exactly as they feared. The second he hears that a newborn baby is destined to destroy him, Nimrod wastes zero time. He immediately summons the child's father, Terah, for a meeting that's going to force a dad to choose between his king and his own son. Nimrod doesn't mess around. There's no negotiation, no trying to find a loophole, just this raw, horrifying command. The king's solution is brutally simple: eliminate the threat before it can even learn to crawl. He demands that Terah hand over his infant son to be killed. And to make this whole thing even more chilling, the king frames it like a business deal. He doesn't just demand the child, he offers to buy him. In his mind, everything and everyone has a price tag, even the life of his general's newborn son, which he reduces to a simple transaction for a house full of silver and gold. So Terah's back is against the wall, right? Openly defying the king means death for his entire family. But instead of begging or fighting back, he does something absolutely genius. He decides to outsmart the king, countering the brutal demand not with emotion, but with a perfectly crafted story. His strategy is brilliant. He doesn't even mention his son. Instead, he lays this perfect intellectual trap. He presents the king with a parallel problem and asks for advice. He says, "Hey king, this man offered me a ton of money for that priceless horse you gave me as a gift. What should I do?" He's using Nimrod's own twisted logic, but applying it to an animal. And Nimrod walks right into it, hook, line, and sinker. He just explodes in anger, calling Terah a fool for even thinking about selling such a magnificent gift for plain old money. In his arrogance, the king has no idea he's just condemned his own argument. And that is when Terah springs the trap. The king has just finished saying how idiotic it would be to trade a priceless gift for cash, so Terah just turns the king's own logic back on him. He asks, "My king, if it's foolish to sell a horse for gold, then how can you ask me to sell my son, my heir? What good is all your silver and gold to me without a future?" Okay, so Terah won the argument. But you know what happens when you make a powerful tyrant look stupid in front of everyone? Yeah, it just makes them angrier. Terah realizes he's in even more danger now, so he has to pivot fast. He begs for 3 days to consider the offer, just buying himself a sliver of time to come up with a real plan. And those 3 days are just a terrifying countdown. You can imagine the fear in that house as Terah secretly tries to figure out what to do. But on day 3, the king's patience is gone. A messenger shows up with the final ultimatum: deliver the child for execution, or I will kill every single person in your house, right down to the family dog. The clock had officially run out. And this is Terah's plan. It's desperate, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. He takes another newborn from his household, the son of a servant, and presents that child to the king as if it were Abram. He takes the blood money, and Nimrod, believing the threat is finally gone, brutally kills the innocent baby. It's a shocking deception that comes at an unthinkable cost. So the king and his wise man all think the prophecy has been stopped. They think they've won. But now, Abram's survival depends on just one thing: total and complete secrecy. The immediate danger is over, but the long game of staying alive has just begun. So Terah takes his real son, Abram, along with Abram's mother and a nurse, and he hides them away in a remote cave. Every single month, he sneaks out to bring them food and supplies, all while the entire kingdom, from the king on down, is 100% convinced that the child is dead. And get this goes on for 10 years, a full decade. Imagine growing up hidden away in a cave, completely cut off from the entire world. For 10 whole years, the boy who was prophesied to topple kings grew up completely invisible to the one man who wanted him dead. So when you really break it down, it took a perfect storm of a father's incredible wit, the tragic sacrifice of an innocent servant's child, and a solid decade of secrecy just to keep one boy alive. The great and powerful King Nimrod thought he had outsmarted fate itself, but in reality, he'd just been played by a clever story and a desperate father. And that leaves us with one big question, right? The ancient text says that it was divine will, that providence didn't want Abram to die. And yet, it was Terah's very human actions, his cunning, that terrible sacrifice, his decade of lies, that actually ensured the boy's survival. So which was it? A story of a father's love defying a tyrant? Or was it divine will just working through human hands? It's definitely something to think about.